say you gotta listen to your instinct, and you gotta listen to your gut. I've listened to that a lot. But all of that failed me that day. We all live in these mountains because this is where we get life from. And when it takes life from us, how do you keep living in it? Maybe I really am done with all things mountain. Maybe I just can't do it. I started climbing near the end of university. I loved the movement, I loved the challenge. I loved failing, actually, because that's the majority of climbing is failing. Got completely hooked on outdoor rock climbing, and it's really all I wanted to do. If I wasn't climbing, I wasn't happy. Well, Canmore has very long winters, and as a rock climber, one really has to embrace ice climbing.
The reason it's so popular here in Canada is the same reason hockey's popular. Like, the weather sucks from about November to early April, so you better get into ice and winter sports.
It didn't take me long to get seriously hooked on it. Not just the challenge, but the competency one needs to do it well.
Sarah's the first North American woman to climb M11, M12, M13, and M14. And when Sarah climbed M14 for the first time, that was the top of the scale. That's as hard as it gets, male, female, anywhere in the world.
I've been really fortunate to share these experiences with my partner, Will, where we've gotten to travel all around the world to climb ice in some crazy places.
Ice climbing is the most unlikely form of climbing. Like, you're climbing a frozen waterfall that's gonna fall down every spring. It's just magic.
I love the mountains in winter. I love seeing the hundreds and hundreds of forms that ice can take as it freezes to a side of a mountain. And ice climbing is a really formidable game of chess with risk.
So I realized I just loved sharing outdoor experiences with people, and then I couldn't wait to say, I'm an alpine guide, an ACMG alpine guide. I thought that would be the ultimate thing to be able to tell someone. In fact, I always thought, how fortunate am I to be a woman in this industry? I can be a mentor for so many future women getting into the mountains. I'd like to think that I have given a number of women the confidence to go do what they want to do. So you want to have your hand in the bottom of the tool, right where your pinky sits there. There you go. Yeah.
I did a bunch of introductory ice climbing courses at first with Sarah. So that was really cool because it was like, whoa, get to a point to be able to do this someday. That's how we became friends.
What I've noticed is that women just need a little bit more room to step out front. The summit may not be accomplished, but everyone was part of the process, and that's more meaningful often to the women than just getting to the summit and coming back down again.
She's got a really great psyche that is just contagious. She makes me feel like I can do it. When I climb with Sarah, I can do it, Gotcha, Amy!
And I think that Sarah really does that for people, just shaking them and saying, I believe in you, and you have this.
And in 2009, I started running women-specific ice climbing camps.
I think women step up a little bit more when they're in that environment.
I love this plastic ice.
Sonia was the perpetual energy and smile at the camps.
A lot of people felt really drawn to Sonia. She was like the connection between all these women.
She was a huge part of the experience. The climbing is always great, but honestly, getting back to the hostel, having Sonia there, ready with appies and everyone hanging out and having a drink after a great day, and just seeing the energy and knowing that lifelong friendships are being built. That's definitely the highlight.
Sarah's ice climbing camps were such an exciting thing to guide. I always looked forward to it.
You know, I've worked a bunch of those camps with Sarah, and this year, finally, we had a reasonable forecast.
We split up into groups and go climb different objectives, kind of in the same general area.
I was headed to Massey's with 5 other people, 1 other guide, 2 clients each. Everybody was pretty excited about that.
It's a great group to be out with. There's a lot of really amazing women, and it's a treat.
Honestly, that day felt like a perfect day of ice climbing in field.
I drove out of field thinking they're gonna have a great day, and then it wasn't like that.
Just finished my climb on Guinness Gully, and someone said, "Look, there's a powder cloud." And I looked up, and I knew immediately it was over Massey's, where 2 parties were climbing that day. Called MB right away. I just said, "Get everyone behind the ice."
I looked up, and I saw the front of the avalanche. So much power, so much strength. It's sucking at you. When it started to pour over me, I was still screaming, no, and I was getting snow in my mouth. And I spit it out and said, "Close your mouth." Like, you have to live if you're gonna help anybody. Yeah, it just became about survival.
Got my avalanche shovel and probe and just started running. I just remember running as fast as I could with this train beside me. I didn't know if I would be running to find 6 people buried. I had no idea. This is my worst nightmare.
As soon as the avalanche stopped, right away realized that we were only 5. Then I just heard 1.8 meters. And I knew right away we were in a pretty serious situation. I looked around and I realized that the backpacks were gone. I yelled down, "Sticks, hands, crampons, you have to start moving snow." I don't even really remember seeing Sarah arriving.
I just remember turning into the climb, and then I realized it was Sonia that was buried. We got Sonia out and did CPR and AR. I just try to keep her warm. It felt pretty real. Someone said that the Stars of Life was going to take her to Calgary because they got a pulse. So we called her husband, and then Will and I spent the next 2 days in the hospital with her family. But at the end, she wouldn't make it. I don't know. I don't know. There's nothing you can do to prepare yourself for that. We try to prevent it from happening as best we can, but I guess we just don't let ourselves think that it can happen or would happen.
A scary day for a group of ice climbers out here in Yoho National Park. Parks Canada says the group was climbing just outside of Field, BC, when an avalanche was triggered. At the time, Parks Canada had the avalanche risk rated at moderate for the alpine and low at or below the tree line.
I went back to that spot several times, and that was the only thing that came down a whole season. So I don't think the forecast was radically wrong. That's what gives me nightmares as a guide. There was nothing in that day where I'd be like, yep, this is the way it had to be different. And I think everybody in the guiding community looks at this and is like, you know, well, that could have been me, and that's why it's shaking this community up so much.
I don't think I saw Sarah for maybe a week or so. Will had asked me to go over. She was, like, understandably, you know, a mess, right? As you would expect, the worst someone could feel.
I spent the next month asking all my peers, asking all the people smarter than me with avalanches, what they thought. Like, I wanted to be held accountable if we made the wrong decision. I haven't had a day where I don't think about this. It's between grief and remorse and regret and self-hatred. Now I don't trust anything. I don't trust my own decision-making for myself. Even I look out there and I'm like, all I see is hazards and consequence.
I think for Sarah, it was a triple loss because it was her really good friend. That's a huge blow when you lose somebody that's really important to you in life. And then she has the trauma of digging Sonia up. You know, what do you do with that? It's horrible. It is trauma. And then on top of that, it's her whole career in life. Before this accident, Sarah was at the absolute pinnacle of her career. She's an examiner for the Guiding Association. She has a reputation as one of the safest and most thorough guides out there. And that life is done. So for her, everything changed that day. And it's still, a year later, not the same. Nothing's the same.
You know, for months after the accident, I really didn't want to leave the house. I didn't go to the grocery store for 8 months. I still remember sitting in the car and, you know, and I started crying because it just felt overwhelming. And I don't even know what I was scared of. I was just scared of exposing myself to people's judgment. Because if it was anything like how I was judging myself, I couldn't face that anymore.
I couldn't see how I was gonna live with this. You know, like, how am I gonna wake up every day and know that this beautiful human being is gone because of something you did or didn't do that you could have changed?
I just couldn't breathe. I would just be wrestling with the darkest feelings towards myself all night. It felt like I had to get out of my body. And, you know, how do you do that?
Nobody really knows what to do in this situation. There aren't very many guides that get to their end of their careers that don't have at least some bad accidents in that career, and that's not talked about in guide school.
My fatal guiding accident happened in 1986. My ice axe failed out of the snow, and myself and 4 clients slid 400 feet down a 45-degree snow slope. We landed in a crevasse, and the snow partially buried 3 of us and fully buried 2 of us. And the 2 people who were fully buried did not survive. They asphyxiated in the snow. Having been there myself, I know what it's like to feel alone. I don't want to think that Sarah considered suicide, but I would not be the least bit surprised if she did. It's part of the battle inside yourself. Am I bad or am I good?
I couldn't sleep. Well, I couldn't move images and the thoughts from my head. You know, Will would be worried that I'd be gone all night and morning. I'd find myself like going towards dangerous places just to see what I would do around them.
We've got no vocabulary to talk about that. How do you talk about that? So you feel so shitty you want to kill yourself. What Really? How do you talk about that with somebody?
And a really bad accident happens. As a guide especially, all of your models, everything you built yourself on, it just gets shattered in a second.
I do know that the rate of suicide amongst mountain guides and snow safety specialists is 6 times the national average. I do know of other guides who have taken their life because of avalanche fatalities and a feeling of responsibility for that.
And all I would do is just hope to get through the day. And then nighttime would come and I'd just hope I could get through the night.
Sarah's been going through hell, literal hell. At times, been hanging on by a thread, just by a thread.
When you're in that place, what's life worth? Where do you go? How do you make it better?
Don't try to carry it by yourself. I think you need to seek professional help.
It is not status quo for people to come in after critical incidents. Maybe it's becoming more normalized, but it's still a ways to go. With trauma, our system gets jammed up, and we want to move through it. Trauma's not cognitive, it's not linear, it's not a contained, nice story. Have therapy as part of your plan, because these critical incidents were never the same afterwards.
I'm still figuring out how it's changed me and how it's changed me as a guide. I let everybody in. I didn't. The phone rang. I answered it, and there was somebody on the other line who didn't know what to say. But even if they just went like it made a huge difference, and that was key. Yeah, to just say what I need. I need you here now. I just need people around me.
I just can't imagine having gotten to wherever I am at now without being connected with a really good psychiatrist in Calgary who helped me just immensely.
I've probably seen 6 different therapists over this year and probably had over 35 sessions, different sorts. Yeah, I might not be here without that. That's the reality, you know? I think therapy has taught me that, you know, when you feel isolated and alone, accepting and reaching out for support is a huge part of healing. I think hope is what actually builds resilience in the end. If you have hope for things, that you hold on harder and you work harder towards it. Before I knew it, that got me back outside again, wanting to climb. I was like, I need a goal to challenge myself, to go back in the mountains, to trust myself. I have a big idea, which is lofty and maybe ludicrous, to try to link up 3 climbs in one valley of the Waiparis. Yeah, a foundation to tell the story of this other side of the mountains to people.
Sarah's idea was to link up cryophobia, which is a total test piece of its era. It's an awesome route, and it's about 6 pitches of hard mixed climbing, and it's super aesthetic and beautiful. And then just across the way is this route called no phobias, 5 or 6 pitches of mixed climbing and overhanging dry tooling, and it's really steep and hard. You do no phobia, it's a good tick. And then one of the most classic ice lines in the world is hydrophobia. If you're an ice climber, it's on your tick list. It's a world classic. And each one of those would be a great objective for a day. But you put all 3 of them together, it's a massive amount of climbing.
The whole idea of the phobias seems perfect right now. Maybe I'll just like immerse myself in the whole idea of fear and work with it instead of against it.
Like, only her would come up with an idea like that. Like, outrageous, but also really awesome.
She sent me a text, I think it said something like, hey, are you free for a couple of days? It might involve like some winter camping. You cool with that? Like, sure, we can go winter camping.
It was amazing to see her like have that glint in her eye again and that psych, and like obviously, of course, it was like something ridiculous. Like shortest day of the year, like 8 hours of travel.
When you feel your friends supporting you like that, it really gives you strength, and it feels good to accept that from people. Logistics are that we've got 3 weeks to do this, which sounds like a lot, but really it's not if I have to get my ass in gear and do it. We're in a super deep freeze. It's like -40 with wind chill. It's heinous. It's heinous. You cannot climb anything in those temps. But honest to God, I've really enjoyed going out there. Even on the cold days, it's quiet. It's a lot of good time to think. I feel connected to Sonia in that time. That's what it's about right now. All right, so I am trying to get an idea of the weather for the next couple days. And not a bad temperature day, except for the -25 part. It's a 2-hour drive, a 2-hour ski in, and then the climbs are long, so I need to get in there and see if I have the fitness to try all 3.
It's a beautiful place as well, right? Just to be in there for the first time, it's like an honor, really. I was pretty psyched. It was hard work. It was quite the adventure.
I think I got up to the second pitch that time and realized how challenging I found the second pitch. Entering the garage zone. See how it feels once this does a 9-kilometer journey. Definitely not easy. See if we still have energy to climb something. I forgot how much winter camping can suck. It was a lot of energy just to stay warm and to melt water.
Every time I went in there, you needed like 3 days to recover. Yeah, it was really exhausting.
Yeah, I thought it was a really cool idea, but it sounded like an awful lot of work to me. It sounded really difficult.
So we just climbed like a couple pitches of no phobia. Absolutely freezing.
Oh! It's just fully cramping. We were only getting like 1 pitch in a day out of 15 pitches. That's not a lot. I'd really like to keep climbing. I don't know why. It's actually kind of agonizing.
How was the day?
Somewhat disappointing.
We'll get there. We got time.
-28.
Pretty freaking cold. Hoping to just finish the rigging here if we can today in -30 temps. Ambitious. It's tired. Thank you, Will. Yeah, just really psyched that we came out and put the effort in. If nothing else, we burned a lot of calories. By the time I skied back out, something inside me again said, oh, yep, keep at this, you got this, this is gonna happen. Last weekend, we lost another amazing friend to another avalanche. It's only been 10 months for me, but I don't want to go back to those dark places. It feels a bit scary to have that kind of reignited and stirred up like that. We like to think we control our outcomes in the mountains. But the reality is, we don't, and that's a scary place for me to go back to.
Nobody wants to look at the mountains that way. I think those of us who've been through the grinder for a generation plus, we see it. That if you spend enough time in the mountains, it is very likely that you will have accidents. You know, you can do a lot to make it safer, but once you get it into your head that these environments are truly, on a personal level, incredibly hazardous. And it's not just an intellectual game anymore, it changes everything.
You ask yourself why you go back to these places, and you know what the answer is. You know what it gave you. I guess I had to see it if I could and wanted to get back in touch with that life. I wanted to know what parts of me still existed, the drive, the determination, trust, friendship. I was just curious if I could still find that out there, because that's what made my life so full for so long.
I didn't sleep. Like, I watched the time go by and I slept an hour. And then 3 o'clock rolled around and it was time to get up and go try this link up. I couldn't feel shittier, but my friends have rallied. They want to support me. Let's just go out and we'll do the best we can. Okay, on?
Yep.
Cryophobia, kind of your classic mixed route. There's lots of pitches where there's a bit of ice, a bit of rock, and you're kind of weaving a line between those.
So you've skied, I don't know, like 10, 12 kilometers back in there, and then you're gonna do 1,000 pull-ups, a couple thousand sit-ups, and a couple thousand squats, and you're gonna do all of that back to back and then ski out. This is an immense athletic output.
Well, I was just thinking, like, I'm glad I'm not leading all these. I don't think I could. I definitely couldn't.
It's as far as I looked, just like the next move. When I didn't look at the end goal, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do a pitch of cryophobia. I'm gonna do another pitch. John is psyched. He's still encouraging me. Okay, well, let's do another pitch. Let's keep going.
She wanted to send every climb, which means she has to free climb every pitch without falling or like resting on the rope at all. And she has to do that pitch after pitch after pitch after pitch all day. Yeah, really quickly, Sarah, where are we right now?
Top of cryo.
How you feeling?
Tired. We moved on to no phobia, and I knew that second pitch was going to be hard. I'd only been on it twice.
I'll bet there's been less than like 15 people that have climbed no phobia, ever. It's an undertaking to get that route done.
No phobia is kind of your more modern mixed climb, mostly dry tooling. Really steep, really overhung to this little wee chunk of ice. You kind of go, whoa. You're gonna climb not just up something, but you're like climbing back.
The biggest question mark of the day was the crux pitch on no phobia, which just involves this like long horizontal roof. If she had started to fall, just logistically, like, there wasn't really any room for error.
Come on, Sarah.
You got it, Sarah.
Secure! Oh my God. That was a fight, guys. That was a good feeling to finish that pitch. Everyone wanted me to hold on as hard as I wanted to hold on.
Yeah, Sarah.
Secure! From there, I kind of thought, all right, maybe this is doable.
Great work. Awesome job.
Hydro?
Yeah, let's get a monster. What can I do?
Honestly, haven't even thought of hydro yet. I'm like, I didn't think it would get this far. It's not what was supposed to happen. Supposed to fall on one of those pitches, get frustrated, complain about cramps, and then just not continue. Damn it. Well, honestly, when I came down from no phobia, there was a part of me that was like, you know, I'm playing cryo and no phobia. That's never been done before. That's pretty cool. The last thing I want to do right now is go climb hydrophobia.
She's just sent cryo in its entirety. She sent no phobia in its entirety. You know, hydro for Sarah is like, it's auto mode. It's hard work, like it's blue collar work, but like, she's gonna do it.
Hydrophobia is your classic grade 5 or 6 ice climb, super sustained, super aesthetic. It's what people think about when they think about ice climbing.
It's like, oh, this is just gonna be pure work. But once I got going, it was actually like, oh yeah, ice climbing, this is fun. I do like this sport. It's quite nice. I was up 3 pitches, I was past the crux of it, and I started to get in the groove, and I was like, wow, this is actually going pretty quickly. I wasn't relaxed yet at all, because it wasn't over, and darkness was coming, and that's all a bit scary, and I was ready for things to change, and then sure enough,
They were 1 pitch from the top.
Hydrophobia lived up to its name.
this huge dam released. I saw the water not just running over the ice, but like rooster tailing over the ice. The flow was dramatic.
Cold, it's dark, we're like 2.5 hours from the car. Like, it's a really bad place to get soaking wet.
It's scary. I mean, that much water that fast is... I was worried about what it might bring with it.
In the past, I might have been able to step away from that and be like, okay, this is going to subside. There's only so much water that can release out of there. I'll wait it out over here and then I'll finish this. But it wasn't just me up there, it was Scott too. It was not worth that.
I was still trying to sort it out what was going on. Well, Sarah had already made the decision. She was like, we're out of here. And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds really good. Like, good call.
She didn't deliberate. She was like, this isn't safe. It's not worth putting myself and my friends at risk. Let's get out of here.
The whole point of this was to tell a story about Sonia, and I just feel like it doesn't matter how hard you try, you can't get things back, you know?
You dread the anniversary days, for sure. You dread them, but in some ways you welcome them because it means you've survived that year. Will and I are hosting a Hafner Day with 3 other the guides who are there at Field, and just open the invite to Sonia's family and friends. And I'm looking forward to getting a lot of hugs and shedding some tears and laughing a bit and remembering, and just try to create a place to honor Sonia in the mountains where people can not be alone.
We're all here for one reason, and we're all thinking about Sonia, and it's just testament to what she was all about.
She was just such an amazing climbing partner. So now we're here today celebrating her by getting out doing one of her favorite things, ice climbing.
Great group of people, all connected through Sonia, so it shows the depth and breadth of Sonia's community.
Sonia's spirit is here with us.
Love you, Sonia. Thank you, guys.
When your world falls apart, you either fall apart with it and decide life's not worth living, or you try to move forward and try to build your life back up.
Nope, technically the link up has not been finished, and I've had some interesting conversations about that. And what I've realized through those conversations is I don't give a crap. There's like, you know, maybe I will. Maybe in a couple of years from now I'll be crazy enough to want to do it again. But for me, it's not what the point was. It was to see if I could get back out there again and trust myself.
To go from where she was March 11th a year ago to climbing that is like, it's a very, very, very long way. It's a lot further than just the hard climbing. Climbing's rad, but it's the process that got her there that I think is cooler. She's wondering what she's going to do with her life. I don't know what she's going to do with her life, but if you can do that, you can do anything, can't you?
I just left feeling stronger, like I had a foundation again.
I learned so much about acceptance and forgiveness and compassion from Sonia's husband and family that I felt like I had to try and find it in myself, for myself. I think it's important to recognize that grief will never be a straight line. It's an up and down, it's a roller coaster ride.
All the way up to here. Come on, Rose.
Yeah! I've lived a big life, and I've got more life to live. More good experiences with the people you love.
Yellow chip straight up. Yeah!
The way to look forward in my life has to be different than it was before. It's not through the women's camps anymore, or through guiding as much as I can, or climbing as much as I can. It feels like I need to be moving my life experience forward for other people positively. I think sometimes people think they don't want to bring up the accident because they'll bring up this horrible event in your life. But the reality is, like, sometimes I feel like I've got this scar on my face. It's like, you're not going to talk about this? Like, come on. It's happened to me. It's life, and I need to talk about it. Between Barry and Janet and myself, we just started to meet as a small group. And we realized pretty quick how important that was for all of us. And we realized this is something we want to open up to more people who have all experienced trauma in the mountains.
People can feel very responsible and very isolated. The peer support is really creating a network of people who have had common experience, so we know we're not alone and that we can heal together.
There are these stories that happen in our lives that can either crush us or make us stronger.
Sharing it with your peers, with other people who have experienced something similar, that's a whole different type of healing.
I can just see it help and feel it help, myself included.
When Sonia passed, I didn't think I'd ever find joy again. I didn't think I was allowed it, and I didn't think I could actually feel it.
In the last year, spending time with Sarah, it's been really beautiful to see when she's coming up rather than going down.
I know what to say now when someone has an accident. I'm so sorry this happened to you. I'm just really sorry this happened to you. You're gonna make it through this. It's gonna be a hard road, but stick with it. And you'll find joy again. It's gonna come. And it's gonna be great.
Support, buoyancy, light. I think it's the biggest gift a human can give another human.
Grief and trauma are shared human experiences. And if we live long enough, we will experience those. And we'll need to know how to deal with them and how to help other people deal with them so they don't feel like they're in it alone. That's very, very healing.
I'm laying here in my bed, feeling kinda lonely. Then my heart starts talking. You are never alone, whispers my heart. Whispers my sweetheart, you are never alone.